Brisket is a staple here in Texas. It's also very expensive. I'm gonna show you guys 3 alternative cuts that are much more budget friendly and everyone has access to at their local supermarket. All right guys, cut number 1 is a beef chuck roast. So just about any supermarket you go to is gonna have this on the shelf over in the meat department. I went to my local magical land of H-E-B. They've always got them stocked for us. So the chuck roast, similar to the brisket, has quite a bit of intermuscular fat that we need to break down over time. So that's why you often see it cooked into a crock pot or some sort of large vat and braising it for a long, long period of time, low and slow. We are still gonna kind of work along those guidelines. We're gonna take this into our smoker for several hours, put a ton of smoke and color on it, and then we're gonna wrap this up in foil with some beef stock. I've actually got beef tallow, so I'm gonna use tallow today instead of stock, only because I have it on hand and it's free basically running the restaurant. We always have it. But if you don't have access to beef tallow, get you a couple quarts of beef stock. You get the exact same results we're gonna get today and still get that intense beefy flavor. All right, so very similar to brisket, we're gonna season this 60 mesh black pepper and our seasoned salt. I know these bottles say different things. This is seasoned salt. You can use any seasoned salt you want to. You can use chicken bouillon, beef bouillon, it doesn't matter. Get a seasoned salt. We're using the seasoned salt from Rio today. We're also gonna be using our 16 mesh black pepper. Again, this comes from Rio, but any size pepper you want, it really doesn't matter. If you're gonna go table grind black pepper, if you can't get your hands on 16 mesh, just go a little bit lighter because it does come out a little bit quicker. It's a little bit smaller granule. It can get a little bit too peppery if you go the table grind. So now when it comes to actually seasoning this chuck roast, we did mention we're gonna season this just like a brisket. As always, we always go pepper first and then our seasoned salt. I've covered this a few times, but I don't think it's ever a bad thing to go back over the basics. When you season them separate, it allows you to really dial in your salt profile and your pepper and color profile. You know, if you just intermix the two, those granules from the salt are gonna settle down into the pepper, and there's a chance that some of this gets more salt than the other portions of it. So pepper first, I'm gonna go fairly heavy, like I would on a brisket. Make several passes. I want a good coat of black pepper on here. It's a good chunk of protein. I'm gonna hit all my sides before I come back with my seasoned salt. I've got my top and bottom. I'm gonna come back on my sides. When I season all my sides, I'm just bouncing it off the angle of my hand. Make sure everything's nice and covered with that layer of 16 mesh black pepper. I'm gonna go with my seasoned salt. Again, this is where you can throw in any flavor profile you want to. So like I would go seasoned salt first, and then if you want to throw on some smoked paprika, some beef bouillon, anything, it doesn't really matter. At this point, get your pepper on, get your seasoned salt on, and then add whatever you want. I've always been kind of a salt and pepper guy. I'm always more worried about rendering fat and kind of making sure my salt profile is there versus trying to put 15 different rubs and spices onto things. Cool, I've got this rubbed down. I'm gonna hit this side I missed over here, a little more salt. I'm gonna set this aside. I'm gonna let it sit out and sweat for probably 20, 25 minutes to really let that salt activate. I'm looking for this thing to look nice and wet and shiny before it goes onto the smoker. All right guys, that chuck roast is nice and wet-like. Seasoning and salt is activated. I've got the Goldie's Backyard Pit fired up to about 250-ish right now. I'm gonna set this thing on here, shut my stack down to 3/4, and let it rock and roll for a couple hours. All right, and with like any protein, kind of push in all of your sides, anything, you know, how you set the protein on there is how it's gonna cook over time. So if it's all cattywampus on there, it's gonna look like crap on the finished product when you're done with it. So push your edges in, make it nice and round, no jagged edges. And again, the big benefit of this chuck roast, this is like a 2-3 hour cook. This is not gonna take 18, 20 hours. So you still get the rest of your day to go be a dad, parent, friend, whatever. So hang out. Alternative cut number 2 is the beef cheek. Now, this has been made famous from a lot of different spots around this state, around this country, of doing sliced beef cheeks, and I absolutely love smoked and sliced beef cheeks. But when you do it that way, you do lose quite a bit of the meat, and it's not very cost effective. So we're gonna be doing just straight up Texas style barbacoa. I don't know how you want to call it. I don't want to get a bunch of comments about not doing authentic barbacoa. I don't want to hear it. This is how I'm going to do it. This is how we eat it here. It's a super simple, easy, quick dish that's very budget friendly. So let's get into it. Now, the beef cheek is made up with a ton of tendons and collagen and all sorts of junky stuff up in there. So you do still have to worry about breaking down a lot of fat and collagen and all that. We are not going to be maybe as careful as like if we were trying to serve these as sliced cheeks. I'm really just looking to take out the big excess fat in this. Like this right here is all fat. Now, don't throw this away. Keep this, freeze it, get it kind of nice and hard. And if you're making your own sausage, this is great fat for sausage. Save that for sausage, or freeze it, save it, and use it to make tallow down the road when you have enough to make a big pot of tallow. So tallow is like liquid gold. So I've got the big chunky fat on there. The rest of this stuff I'm not too worried about. So we are going to season this off. We're going to smoke this for several hours, get really good color on this. And we're actually going to, and I'm not going to say this right, I'm from Montgomery, Texas. We're going to confit this, okay? My understanding of confit is just a long, slow braise and any type of fat you have. But again, for this step right here, I've got all the big fat that will not cook down that you don't want to really eat anyway taken off of this. I'm going to season all these sides pretty heavy with pepper and seasonal again. And then we're going to get this on the smoker and get going. All right, guys, so again, with barbacoa, we're gonna hit this again with our 16 mesh black pepper and our seasoned salt. I know, what a white guy, same thing, salt and pepper, no flavor profile, but it doesn't matter. Barbacoa, I've had it a ton of different ways. You can put a million different flavor profiles on this cut of meat. It takes a lot of different seasonings beautifully. So don't be afraid to add whatever you want to this to give your own flair to this. But in saying that, I'm always gonna go 16 mesh black pepper first, and seasoned salt after. Put a nice healthy layer. You guys, there is no way to make this look pretty. I mean, this came from the cheek of a freaking cow, so you want to do so much. Hit it with our seasoned salt. This is going to sit all night in a big tub of beef tallow, beef fat. So while fat is flavor, fat is great. Fat will also mellow out your salt profile. So this is one cooking style today that if you're going to be a little heavy on your salt seasoning, this is the protein to do it on. So I'm going to try and be a little bit more heavy with my seasoned salt on this. All right, guys, I've got these seasoned up. Again, I'm gonna let these sit out for about 15, 20 minutes and really sweat and let that salt activate. All right, beef cheeks. Again, these are nice and wet, glossy looking. The salt has definitely activated on these. I'm gonna set these on the Goldie's pit. Again, I've got it 250. I'm gonna put it a little bit closer to the little exchange portion of it. It's a little bit hotter right where that heat comes out of that exchange. This can take a good bit of heat. You really can't screw this one up, guys. This is super, super simple. Cut number 3, the tri-tip. Now, I know that this cut of meat can get very expensive if you get to like the prime or the Wagyu level of cuts, but this is honestly, this is like one of the worst tri-tips I've ever seen. I sent my producer Shane to get this from H-E-B, and this is what he came back with. So I'm disappointed in Shane and H-E-B at the exact same time. So if you don't like it, it's Shane's fault. But either way, we're gonna make this pretty good. So I love tri-tip. It's a nice, easy cut of meat, very similar flavor profile to a brisket, very, very beefy. There is intermuscular fat if you pick a decent one out. This one doesn't have a ton, but it's still gonna be good. There is a bajillion ways to cook this and make it fantastic. You can do all grill, all direct heat. You can smoke this whole thing through. I mean, the possibilities of this thing are absolutely endless. All right, now when it comes to the actual cut of meat, the prepping it, we do have to trim a little bit of the fat cap off of this down. This one has a little bit too much fat, so I'm gonna go ahead and knock that out. Kind of similar to a brisket is how I like to do it, about a 1/4 inch or so. You definitely don't want to leave more than a 1/4 inch because you don't really have enough time to like render this thing completely down like you do a brisket where you've got, 12 to 18, 20 hours to cook it. So I'm going to take out some of this excess fat cap. Personally, if I was to serve this at the restaurant, anything that's not covered with that excess fat, I would go ahead and just trim it off. I'm going to clean up a little bit of kind of the jaggedy stuff though. I don't like to see jagged stuff, but it's pretty. I mean, I made it pretty. It did not come pretty. You can only polish a turd so much. Shane.
I just want to make sure you actually know what you're doing.
Yeah, well, we'll see. It's what everyone says. Once again, white people 101, pepper and salt, okay? But like the other profiles, the other meats we have today, you can definitely put anything you want on here. We're gonna have our Bar-A rubs soon, like I said earlier, so I think we're gonna have some pretty cool stuff. I'm pretty excited about the labels that we came up with. They look pretty good. Peppers on, seasoned salt. Now, this is not gonna get braised overnight or anything, so I'm not gonna go quite as heavy as the beef cheeks. Go about as heavy as you would a thick cut steak at your house as far as the salt goes. This is essentially a 2.5, 3 inch thick steak. So the thicker the protein, the more salt it can definitely handle. And honestly, when we cut into this, I'm gonna hit it with like a flaky salt over the top as I slice it up anyway. So salt and beef have got to be a big proponent of what you're doing. All right, so I'm gonna let this sit out for a little bit, let it get nice and wet and that salt activate. Then I'm gonna get it put on the Goldie's offset backyard pit. All right, guys, on to the last one, the Shane tri-tip. Even the crows are in disagreement, but it's okay. I'm gonna make it good. So everything is going on today at 250, 3/4 shut stack. So I'm gonna go ahead and cook all 3 of these proteins with each other. Tri-tip, I'm gonna put a little bit closer to the stack. Does it really matter with the exchange, kind of how this thing is set? Not a ton, but it's just kind of an old habit of like, keep my steaks and stuff away from the residual heat as much as I possibly can. So closer to the stack on this one. And with the tri-tip, going for more of a steak sliceable type bite here versus the shred as we will with the chuck roast and the barbacoa. So I'm gonna shoot for a like medium to medium rare temp in the thickest part of that tri-tip versus the barbacoa and chuck roast. I'm gonna be going more for like 180, 185, 190 because they are gonna get braised down for several hours. And in the case of the barbacoa, I'm gonna braise them down overnight. All right, crew, a couple hours down the road. The tri-tip is sitting around 135-ish right now. Barbacoa, I didn't even temp it. I'm just looking for color at this point. Same thing with the chuck roast. I don't really care on those 2 proteins as far as what temp it's at. I just want to smoke it until I get the color. I want on there a nice little, dark red, dark brown kind of bark and tone to it. At that point, I'm gonna pull them off, put them in some tallow, let them confit overnight, and then they'll be good to go tomorrow morning. The tri-tip, again, 130, 135 in the fattest portion of it. We're gonna pull it out, set it in some butter, wrap it, let it rest down for about 45 minutes to an hour before we slice into it. All right, guys, we've got the tallow in the pan here. For all intents and purposes, for my dishwashing crew, I'm gonna go ahead and just braise this chuck roast and the barbacoa in the same pan again tonight. I'm gonna set this in the oven covered tightly at 200 for about 3 or 4 hours. I'm then going to take it out, put it in our warmer, which is our set at 140, 145. Really, the honest truth is, guys, if you take this off the pit right away, cover it in that stock or that beef tallow, whatever you have on hand, cover it tightly. You can put it straight in your oven at like 160, 170. I know some ovens don't go down to 140, 150. Just get it down to as low as you can go, cover it tightly, let it go overnight. Again, the whole point of this is to shred it. You really can't kind of overcook it because A, we didn't take it like to 205 on the pit. Just temping these were like 170-ish. So we kind of have a good margin of error to make these still really, really good no matter what we do. So cover it tightly, put it in your oven overnight as low as it'll go. up to, I don't know, 12, 14 hours or so. It can braise for quite some time. After it comes out, let's say you hit 12 hours and you're still a couple hours away from your party or whenever you want to serve this, just pull it out, let it sit on the countertop for a couple hours. It'll be fine. It'll still be really hot, still be really warm when you serve it to your family or friends. This chuck roast turned out gorgeous. It's beautiful. It's tender. I'm gonna pull it out of this confit. I mean, look at the color on this, guys. This is beautiful. I know there's flies. It's Texas. It's like 97 degrees today with 150% humidity and zero airflow. So the flies are just rampant today. This is for me and my family, not serving to any guests today. So not super worried about it. The flies are not gonna go into my chuck roast dinner tonight. So let's go ahead and shred this thing up. Again, I've already cooked a big pot of rice today, of white rice. I made a brown gravy with this. I'm gonna shred this up. I mean, it is like just melt in your mouth, voluptuous tender right now. This is gorgeous. This smells fantastic. That tastes every bit like chopped beef to me from a brisket. If you're looking for a quick, easy cook for brisket alternative, give the chuck roast a try because this is gorgeous and it's beautiful. All right, barbacoa next. All right, this barbacoa feels fantastic. I mean, it just shreds like absolutely nothing is there. Now, most important part, the taste test. It's like chuck roast on steroids. There's just so much more intermuscular fat in this than a chuck roast. So it's just super, super rich. I'm gonna cook this with a cilantro lime rice tonight and a little bit of a green verde crema salsa I picked up from the store. It's gonna be like barbacoa rice bowls. This is delicious. All right, guys, tri-tip is finally off. Looks great, color looks fantastic. Again, this was super easy cook. We smoked at 250. Stack was shut about 3/4 of the way the entire time. Let's cut into it. I'm gonna go right down the middle just to piss everybody off. Look at all the juices. Look at that fly. Get out of here, fly. That's a juicy piece of steak. Even though Shane picked a horrible, horrible cut of protein.
I mean, hey, that's your problem, not mine. How's it
Get a couple
taste?
slices out of it. That's the most important part. Let's see how it tastes. I'll give two. I'll let Shane have a slice. Shane, you want to get in here and taste this
It
beautiful
looks pretty good
tri-tip?
to me, dude. I think you're just mad you had to do a little extra work.
It's actually really good.
Really good. It's super moist. Good amount of smoke, but not too much.
I feel like juice is like popping off in my mouth right now. Imagine how much better this would have been if you picked a better cut of meat.
Well,
I'm just giving you a hard time. Hey, the whole name of this game, guys, feed your family for the relatively cheaper side of things. You know, we all know the price of meat right now is through the roof. There's not much we can do about it. You know, we're all trying to find ways to save $1 here or there. All three of these meals today can easily be done for under $30, $35, depending on where you're at in the country, which to feed a family of 4, that's pretty good. Stay tuned. Thank you guys. God bless.